Hello and welcome back to the channel. Also hi from Zane, who doesn't really want to say much. Hello and welcome back to the channel and another episode of Ask Rikki, where you get to ask a question anonymously in a Google form about disability, mental health, child abuse, LGBT things, etc., and I will answer it as well as I can. If you've missed out on any of the previous episodes, I will have a card up here with the playlist so you can take a look and watch any episodes that you have missed right after this one. If you enjoy these episodes, be sure to join the channel. There's a little button down below and you get exclusive perks like a Q&A video that's exclusive to you, emotes, badges, or you can pledge on Patreon, which will have other exclusive perks as well. I will have a link to that down below. So Allie asked, and even though this is anonymous, she put her own name down, so this is her doing, not mine. What is the best way to approach someone with a disability? So really, as a whole, you can sum it up in one sentence, and that is like any other ordinary human being. But if you want to get really specific, because there are various disabilities and various do's and don'ts, I have that answer for you. Do you have anything, Zane? Zane? Do you have anything would you like to start off? No? Well, I'll help you. So one thing you definitely don't want to do when you are approaching a wheelchair user is to touch their wheelchair for any other reason. You better not be running off to touch a stranger's wheelchair. I've seen horror stories on Twitter of wheelchair users going to the grocery store or really anywhere, and sometimes able people will actually take their wheelchair while obviously the disabled person is sitting in it and move them out of their way. The audacity of able people who do that, I don't know whether to give you props because you have such audacity or to just shake my head or both. Really, wow. I've even seen some people retaliate, some disabled people, wheelchair users retaliate by now putting spikes on their handles, which, hey. So yeah, don't touch anybody's wheelchair for any reason unless you have permission to, which if you're a stranger, I still find that weird, but hey. So I mean, if you're at the grocery store and you need a wheelchair user to move because they're in the way, they're in the middle of the aisle or whatever, do what you would do with anybody else. Say, excuse me. If they happen to be a deaf person who is a wheelchair user, tap them on the shoulder. Of course, I have my own little horror story video of me being at the Whole Foods market and somebody was getting mad at me for not hearing them. That's that. If you're wanting to talk to someone who is in a wheelchair and you are standing up, don't bend down to their level to talk to them. It makes wheelchair users feel, what's the word that I'm looking for? Infantilized? I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it, but it just makes them feel like you're kind of babying them. That's what I've been told and what I've read. So just, if you're standing up, just keep standing up. Now, if you have to bend down and tie your shoe and you happen to be talking to them or picking something up, obviously that's not the same thing. But if you're walking or whatever, you don't need to bend down to their level. I also asked on Twitter for other do's and don'ts, and one other person said to not pat them on the head, and also don't talk to, if they're with another person, don't talk to the other person when you're really wanting to talk to the person who's using the wheelchair user. I didn't really know people did that, although I feel like I've possibly read some stories in passing on Twitter and things, but yeah, don't do that. Moving on to blind/visually impaired people. Don't touch or grab a blind person without their permission. This can be very, very scary for someone who is blind. James Rath has talked about this, and I remember a viral thread going around of someone feeling like they were going to be kidnapped because some stranger randomly came up to them thinking that they were helping them out. And all that does is, especially if you don't announce yourself beforehand, that's just scary. James also had this to add: don't drag me in order to guide me. Offer your elbow for me to hold. Use clear directions to describe surroundings when guiding and call out potential hazards. So yeah, keep that in mind. Also, look at the blind person when you're talking to them. I know somebody's gonna be like, well, they can't see you. Well, first of all, blindness is a spectrum. And also, still, face them when you're talking to them. It's just respectful and common courtesy to also look at the person when you're talking to them. And then for deaf people, my favorite, and also the thing I get the most experience out of, obviously, because I am deaf. I'm also an ambulatory wheelchair and cane user, but mostly it's the deaf part that gets the most experience, right? If you're a hearing person walking around and you see a deaf person signing, like, even to another able person or a hearing person, you know, ordering food, or if two deaf people, or you might have a deaf person and a coda, whatever, just signing, having a conversation amongst themselves, they're minding their own business and going about their day, don't get so excited and start running up to them and going, oh my god, I signed too. You're a stranger, so it's kind of weird when random people are just coming up and, like, mostly that, you know, we're just trying to, we might have errands to run, we don't really have time to deal with random people coming up to us and trying to show up their signing skills, or a lot of the time, as appreciative as it is when somebody is trying to say, hey, I learned some ASL, a lot of times, you know, it's the ABCs and they're really struggling, and it's just kind of awkward to see that. On one hand, it's really cool to see that somebody is taking the time to learn it. On the other hand, it's just kind of weird that this random person is coming over and getting really excited and just, you know, if it's at a event that's about deaf people, about signing, things like that, that's fine. But when you're just trying to, like, but if you're at the mall or if you're having dinner, like, if I was on a date or something and somebody's coming up to me and doing that, and I'm like, I'm just trying to spend some time here, it gets a little bit awkward. Also, I remember being at the bar and I was having dinner. Granted, I was in a very bad mood. Something really bad happened. I was just trying to get away and spend time by myself. So, a part of this was just me being already, snappy. But I wasn't snappy to this guy, right? You know, I'm respectful. I'm like, oh, that's cool, but you know, I was writing my order to the guy, the bartender, and this guy beside him is like, oh, are you deaf? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, oh, I have a deaf friend. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And that was kind of the end of the conversation, and it was awkward from there. And then the most important thing is, in my opinion, don't talk to our interpreter or captioner or coda friend or parent who knows ASL, etc., or sign language in general, you know what I mean? So, like, if you're hiring me to do a speaking engagement for you or consulting, face me and talk to me, because I am, you know, the person of interest, if you will. You don't need to be talking to my interpreter and saying things like tell her, tell him, tell them, you know, this and that, or ask them, you know. Same with the captioner, you know. Now, if you want to ask the interpreter or the captioner a very specific question that pertains to them, like, so, how does captioning work? That's cool with me. I don't know how anybody else feels about it, but for me, that's fine. When I was doing YouTube Next Up, and Stanley, my man, the best captioner I ever had, I love him. He was using, you know, technology, and there was new technology that we were trying out, and my fellow Next Up classmates were very curious about everything, and you know, that was cool. But also, we were all, like, pretty much friends at this time, so, whatever. But, you know, at, like, playlists or things like that, where everyone's a little bit more, like, separated, I don't know, I really felt like I had no friends going to, like, playlists and things like that, and my interpreter was basically acting as my friend, if you will. Accessibility, yay! So, like, we'll be having a conversation, and maybe they'll have an interpreting question, things like that, or a captioning question, and they'll want to ask them about that. I'm cool with that, you know? As long as it's not, like, completely ignoring me, you know? Like, if you're also having a conversation with me, I would also like to get involved in things like that, you know? I don't have a problem. But yeah, when you want to talk to me or any other deaf person, like, we are having the conversation, face-to-face communication, right? There's a lot of other tips out there, not just for approaching deaf people like me or ambulatory cane users, things like that. But I just wanted to give some of the top tips that I could think of, and also that I've received. If you have any other tips that you can think of, whether you're blind, deaf, wheelchair user, other disabilities I'm probably not thinking of right now, please leave them down below. Let's educate everybody, right? If you would like to help translate this video, I'll have a translation link down below. Helps out. Please share this video with everyone you know. The more shares the video gets, the more a channel has the potential to grow. And the video as well, of course. When a video does well, a channel does well. If you have a question that you would like answers for, I will have the Google link down below. Don't forget, it is anonymous, so you don't have to worry about that. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. I really appreciate it, and I will see you later. Bye.